Clinton was endorsed by former Treasury Secretary Larry Summers, right? This was during the 2016 Democratic primary, of course, and of course in the general election as well. But now they have a massive disagreement.
Drums.
So there's some drums. Now, I'm gonna go to a Hillary Clinton video that's recent in just a minute. But before I do, just to give you context on what this disagreement is about, I turn to a recent op-ed that was published in the Washington Post, written by Larry Summers, and this is what he argues. He's worried about inflation, and so he's proposing solutions to deal with inflation. He argues buying inexpensively should take priority over buying American. Tariff reduction is the most important supply side policy the Biden administration could undertake to combat inflation. That's what he's arguing. So understand, let's unpack that for a second. He's arguing, no, like let's not worry about bringing manufacturing jobs here in the United States. Remember, there are supply chain issues right now that are leading to inflation, right? Because we import many of the things that we need. We don't manufacture like we used to. He's saying, yeah, who cares about all that? We gotta buy cheap. And in order to buy cheap, we gotta exploit cheap labor abroad. So that's what he's arguing.
Yeah, now to be fair to Larry Summers, it has a couple of components. One is tariffs, in the quote that Anna read you, and tariffs are very debatable. So that's an open question. Number two is when you have supply chain issues, if you can get materials or products from other countries, in that case, it would make some sense, right? That's my opinion. But when he's emphasizing who cares about American made, that's not good policy and it's terrible optics in politics.
100%.
Yes.
Now, several weeks ago, Hillary Clinton was talking about these supply chain issues. She was specifically weighing in on China. Some of her rhetoric in this video, which is not included, I wanted to give you full context, is a little warmongery, shockingly, right? But put that aside for a second, because all of a sudden you have Hillary Clinton, whose husband, by the way, was all for globalization, now saying that the United States needs to seize the means of production. Let's watch.
It's time we recognize that we need to rebuild our own supply chains, even if that requires a certain level of subsidized industrial productivity. We cannot be dependent on the Chinese market. It's not only bad for our economies, it is bad for our geopolitical strategic interests. Look at what happened with the lack of personal protective equipment or certain pharmaceutical ingredients when the pandemic hit. We were at the mercy of China. Well, we cannot let that continue, and we need to work together across the Atlantic to figure out how we're going to take back production.
And later in the video, she talks about seizing the means of production, which is fascinating phrase coming from Hillary Clinton. So I just thought that disagreement between the two is fascinating.
Yeah, and normally they're in lockstep and they're conservative Democrats. So I think that they're arguing honestly for different parts of corporate America, okay? So Hillary Clinton is making the argument for companies that are based here, saying if you produce it here, it makes a difference as opposed to in China. And Larry Summers is basically saying for all the companies that are buying from China, that's great, that's wonderful, you should let them do that, right? I might be being too cynical here, and maybe, but usually with politicians, you can't be too cynical. So in terms of who's right, by the way, again, that's actually a tiny bit complicated. I think that in some of the critical things like defense and yes, healthcare, we should make sure we have supply chains here in America, and Made in America does make a difference. So Larry Summers is wrong on that. But at the same time, of course, we have to have international trade, and you can't shut that off with in a lot of different ways, including with tariffs that are too high.
Right, but the one point that I will make is that Larry Summers has a history of being pro-global, like global economy, like globalization.
Yes.
And that has been a disaster in so many different ways for American workers. So the fact that he's just like brazenly saying like, no, we need to double down on what we've done in the past, regardless of the supply chain issues that we've experienced, by the way, which is like an added issue, but we gotta buy cheap, okay? Buying cheap or affordable, it should take priority over buying American.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, not good politics.
Yeah.
So now, having said all that, and it's a very serious issue, I'm going to get super goofy. I want you to pull the Hillary Clinton video back up. You don't have to have the sound. There was two things in the background that I was so distracted by, I had trouble concentrating on what she was saying. One is the lamp or vase, lamp in the background. I could be wrong, it looks Chinese. She's really against China, but I could definitely be wrong about that, okay?
Yeah, I can't really tell.
Yeah, but that's not the main thing. The main thing is, what is that statue next to it? It looks like a hand holding a cucumber.
I don't know.
And is it a cucumber? What is that?
I don't know. I don't know what that is.
It looks like some sort of hand holding a phallic object. It was so distracting. I couldn't concentrate on what she was saying.
I was distracted by the excessive headroom. Like, just hand down. It'll be all right.
Okay.
Anyway.
All right, fascinating. All right, just sharing a fun fact with you guys after we talked about trade policy.
I know, it's the only thing that really keeps my interest in this career. I'm just keeping it real.
Okay.
Otherwise, if we're just talking about Tucker Carlson all day, it might lead to self-harm. I'm not gonna lie.
I got you.
Yeah.
But if there's a weirdo cucumber hand situation going on in the background, we'll notice it.
You'll notice it, and you'll always deliver, Cenk. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, hey, I'm here all week. Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.